Come in.
I come in, sir.
Yeah. Good morning. Come.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, sirs.
Please sit down. Ms. Jayasree, you are from West Bengal
Yes, sir.
and you have taken law as your optional subject in the civil services.
Yes, sir.
In West Bengal, these days we have this um, news about the Sandesh Kali violence. So, what exactly do you think happened in Sandesh Kali?
So, when it comes to Sandesh Kali, a couple of factors were involved. The first factor is with respect to the political scenario and the ED raids that were happening. That was one. The second was with respect to women, and the safety of women were also involved.
Mhm. Mhm. So, how did this violence erupt and what were the causes?
So the causes mainly happened because of the ED raid. That was a trigger. Once the ED raid happened, there were a couple of women who wanted justice, and when that happened, then there were a couple of other people who instigated the violence, and therefore this whole issue went so far as it did.
So you mean to say because the ED raided the village, people became violent towards the ED?
Not towards the ED, sir, but they did want the person involved to be brought to justice, in the sense that the person who was particularly involved in the ED raid, they wanted that particular person to be indicted and not let go, is what at least what I've read, sir.
No, but what about the atrocities or the alleged atrocities against women? How does that got any connection with the ED raid?
So I think that that is quite an unfortunate aspect. I'm not exactly sure about how things went about there, sir, but I believe that it was quite connected with the political scenario that was occurring.
No, isn't there a sequence in the whole thing?
So probably there is, sir, but I would have to read more in detail about
Okay.
that.
Now, earlier there used to be a voice for separatism in Darjeeling and in the hills, and they probably wanted to separate away from probably from India originally and then from West Bengal subsequently. But I think all that to some extent got silenced after the region was given autonomous status. So, how do you think the region is today? Have they got integrated with West Bengal now?
So I think for the most part, the challenges that have been there, they have been subdued. Because if you look at the Gorkhaland territorial administration that exists, and even the attention that is given to it by the West Bengal government, recently 650 crores was given to GTA. Apart from that, in the budget also, this thing was announced where 1.2 lakh was supposed to be given under the Chasundari scheme. So I think because of those factors, this aspect has been subdued to a great extent.
Meaning, people have accepted Gorkhaland or whatever is not going to come, and therefore, whatever we are today, we'll be part of West Bengal, and we will continue to be this way. Is that the mindset?
So I think it would be very difficult to answer that question because at the end of the day, I think it boils down to the politics of the area.
Yeah, but what is the mindset of the people today?
So the mindset of the people, I would say, so we are quite integrated with West Bengal at the current moment.
Okay. Now, you have done law, and your optional subject is law, and therefore, let me ask you about the passing away of a famous jurist. It happened in the last week. Who was that?
So his name was Fali Nariman.
And why was he a well acclaimed jurist?
So he was a very well acclaimed jurist because he did represent a lot of cases in the Supreme Court, which led to a lot of landmark judgments. For instance, we had the NGSE judgment also that was fought by him. The other judgment that was very famous was the Union Carbide Corporation case versus Union of India. So his contributions to the legal fraternity has been immense, which is why it is quite.
No, I can understand on NGAC, again, that's not the legal fraternity. It is maybe the way the judges are nominated or appointed. But on Union Carbide, how does that add to the benefit of the legal fraternity? I thought he argued for.
Yes, sir.
Whom did he argue for in that
So
case?
he argued for UCC.
So he is arguing for a multinational. How does that add to the benefit of the legal fraternity?
So I was just mentioning that point because because the fact that he argued in such an important case showed his legal capacities. I would like to add that later on, towards the end of his legal career, he did express regret at the fact that the compensation was not quite adequate in the current case involved.
Yeah, but actually, that should be seen as a negative point more than a positive point for him. But I thought he also argued certain cases connected with fundamental rights and with regard to constitutional issues. Can you name a few of them?
Uh, so I'm unable to recall exactly at the moment.
Are you aware of what is called as the Keshwananda Bharati case?
Yes, sir.
Was he a part of that case? Did he argue in that case?
I believe so, sir.
So, what was the judgment of the Supreme Court in that case?
So the Kesavananda Bharati case was a landmark judgment under which the basic structure doctrine was laid down, in which the court upheld that there's certain basic structures to our constitution which cannot be amended.
And what is that basic structure? How would you define it?
So the way I define it, the basic structure, is with respect to certain inviolable principles of the constitution which cannot be subject to change because that is the identity of the constitution itself.
Was that listed out in the judgment as to what the basic structure implies?
So certain factors, certain pointers were laid out in the certain case, such as federalism and such as the superiority of the constitution, and other factors, other instances were added in later cases. For instance, S.R. Bomai case, secularism was added, and so on, sir.
S.R. Bomai case, secularism.
Yes, sir, as a fundamental, as a basic structure of the constitution.
But I thought secularism was incorporated in the prelude to the constitution even before that.
Yes, sir. But then
are you mixing up dates?
No, sir, but I'm just saying that even though it was added before that, in the S.R. Bomai case, specifically secularism was recognized as a basic structure which cannot be changed.
The S.R. Bomai case is famous for something else. What is that?
So the emergency cases, what is it famous for? The imposition of emergency in certain states, and in the S.R. Bomai case, the court laid down specific guidelines.
It's called imposition of president's rule.
Imposition of the presidency.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's covered under Article 356 of the Constitution. Okay. There is also another judgment of the Supreme Court in 1976 between the state of Punjab and Raj Narayan regarding information. Can you tell me, and it's of recent relevance also, in what way is it connected with developments in the last 15 days?
I'm sorry, sir. I would have to recall.
Yeah, there's something called the right to information. That came out in the Supreme Court judgment of 76. They said right to information is covered under the right to speech and expression. And how is that important with developments in the last 15 days?
So the electoral bond.
Yeah. So please tell me something about the judgment of the Supreme Court there.
So recently, and under the electoral bond judgment, sir, the Supreme Court invalidated this electoral bond and it stated that the right to know under Article 19(1)(a) of the Constitution takes precedence over the right of confidentiality.
And therefore?
And therefore, the electoral scheme was struck down, sir.
Struck down. And they have also said that before a certain date, the list of all those donors will have to be put out on the public domain. What is that date, last date?
I'm sorry, sir.
You also mentioned some concern about illegal eviction of slum dwellers. Slum dwellers are by themselves illegal encroachers. So, where is the illegal eviction of slum dwellers?
So, in this instant case, what had happened was there was this WhatsApp video that had come out by one of the residents of some building who stated that these slum dwellers were illegal immigrants from Bangladesh. And the very next day, sir, without any notice period, this eviction was carried out. And when this case went to the Supreme Court, to the High Court, Karnataka High Court, where Justice Oka was the Chief Justice, even he stated that even if they are illegal, there is a due process that has to be followed. And therefore, in this particular case, he passed this judgment in favor of the slum dwellers.
Jayasree, your father is working here in Delhi?
No, sir. He was working in Darjeeling, but now he's retired, sir.
Okay, he was working where?
He was working as a government school teacher in Municipal Boys High School.
Okay, you have written CSE.
CSAC. So that is my mother.
Okay.
So she's working, so CSAC, it stands for the coaching institute that is there.
Okay, she is a
funded by
teacher
the-
also there.
Yes, so she's the office in charge there.
Okay. You are playing classical guitar.
Yes.
So which level of Trinity you passed?
So there are in total 8 grades.
Hmm.
I have cleared grade 8. Apart
Grade
from that,
8.
yes, sir.
Okay.
So apart from
So
that, there are two
you
other
got a
levels. as
bachelor
well.
degree then.
Yes, sir, you could say.
Okay, congratulations. Very good. So there was a change in criminal law in India.
Yes.
What was that change recently?
So recently, 3 new bills have been brought about. We have the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita, and the Bharatiya Saksha Bill, sir. So these are the 3 main bills that have been brought about to replace the previous laws.
In each bill, can you tell me two changes which has been brought in? Each bill, or two changes.
So when it comes to the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, the Indian Criminal Code, the Article 377 is Section 377 with respect to the consensual
okay,
relations
one.
that has been removed.
Second.
The second change that has been brought about is with respect to stricter punishments against
Okay.
crimes against women. That is Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita.
Okay.
Under Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita, so time limits have been imposed today. So there are particular time limits that are given in terms of when the investigation has to be
Okay,
completed.
when?
The second aspect is with respect to police custody. 15 days of police custody within 60 days or 40 days, depending on the severity of the crime. Those are the two aspects. Under Bharatiya Saksha bills of forensics have been given a higher weightage. We also have the Central Forensic University that is being set up in Gujarat. And the second aspect is with respect to digital evidence, sir.
Okay, so you are aware of this. Uh, Taking over from the same place, that 42nd Amendment, there was some change, like you mentioned, secular and socialist. That is now again that controversy has erupted. So, what is your view on this?
So I guess
Was it correct to add those at that point of time? If not, why? And if yes, why?
So I definitely believe it was a correct step, sir. And the reason why I believe this is because even the Supreme Court has held that these features that were there, that was added in the 42nd Amendment, they were already a part of our constitutional ethos. It was just not articulated in the preamble up to that point. And taking a leaf out of the fundamental rights itself, Part 3 of the Constitution, Article 25, which provides for freedom of religion and all of those aspects, that itself shows that there was a spirit of secularism that prevailed even before the 42nd Amendment, sir.
So why the people who created constitution, why didn't they add these words in preamble?
So I believe that by adding certain aspects in DPSPs, as well as the fundamental rights under Part 3, especially Article 25 to 28, they were making the intention quite clear that these are underlying principles that must guide our nation. So even though they did not expressly mention it, sir, I do believe that they had it in their minds that this is a part of our constitutional ethos.
So the controversy is, in your view, baseless now. We should not.
So currently the matter is sub judice. So, sir, I would like to.
Okay. Again, you volunteered at Alternate Law Forum.
Yes, sir.
So what are the alternate law?
So, if we look at the alternative dispute resolution mechanism,
Okay.
there are primary a few couple aspects. We have arbitration, mediation, conciliation, negotiation. So, these are major alternative dispute resolutions.
So what is your view? Like in uh, alternate dispute resolution system, uh, are they working or it's not workable? What is your opinion on this?
So, I feel that it is definitely workable. What is missing currently is the percolation of awareness at the lowest levels, where we see that arbitration is not quite as popular as we would like it to be. However, having said that, sir, the government has taken proactive
No,
measures.
the problem is that when you go for this thing arbitration, invariably everybody goes to high court.
Yes, sir.
So if it is not a binding, then it's useless.
So that is definitely one concern, that it is also court mediated, which is why, sir, we have the Indian mediation bill that has come out recently, 2023, that strengthens this ADR mechanism, sir. So hopefully these issues will be resolved through implementation.
Thank you.
Let me begin with the West Bengal's historical, philosophical, and contribution in the freedom movement. What is the significance?
So if we look at the significance, then we see that West Bengal had been the hub of cultural activity even in the Indian freedom struggle, starting with Sri Rabindranath Tagore, and then even we had the Abindranath Tagore as well. Apart from that, we had Swami Vivekananda, and I believe that all of these thinkers and these philosophers, not only did they play a role in fulfilling and in fostering national spirit, but they also had a role in social reform. Also, for instance, we had Raja Ram Mohan Roy, for instance, who was quite a famous social reformer. So I think that they had an immense role in our freedom struggle.
Correct. You also remember Subhash Chandra Bose. Yeah. Okay. Suppose if you are Chief Secretary of West Bengal, you are posted, and you are asked to make West Bengal a growth engine in India. What are the important sectors you would pick up? Should I repeat my question?
So I got your question, sir. So the first aspect would be industrialization. We need rapid industrialization in our state. We already have a thriving MSME sector, which is the second largest in the country, but we need to work on that more. That is the first aspect I would like to work upon. Second is in fostering the demographic dividend, because if we look at our state, then it is the 14th largest state, but it is the fourth most populated state, and we also have the second highest population density. So this population boom that we see in our state, so it has to be worked upon, and we need to upskill our migrant workers in particular. So migrant workers as well as the rest of the population. So my two main focus would be on the industrial sector, MSMEs, etc. Second would be on fostering the demographic dividend.
And what are the areas of economic activity you would like to choose?
So economic activity, I would like to focus on the manufacturing sector. Currently, in West Bengal, it contributes to about 25% of the total GSDP. So I feel that that could also increase. And in terms of investments, so recently we had this Bengal Global Summit, and we were able to attract about 3.7 lakh crores of investments. I feel that number could also be increased further if we are able to work on certain regulatory mechanisms. Apart from that, sir, agriculture, which constitutes about 60% of the workforce in West Bengal, sir, that can be augmented further, and the agriculturals need to be strengthened more, sir.
Okay. The Bang Bang movement took place during freedom movement. When it took place, and who was the person responsible for that?
I'm sorry, sir. I would have to read more upon that.
Okay. Last question. You are student from law, so what do you think of the existing collegium system to select the judges?
Yes. So I think that the collegium system definitely needs reform. And this is mainly because, one, there is lack of transparency and lack of representation. If we look at the number of judges, 75% comes from the general category, with only 13.7% of women representation in the judiciary. Apart from that, there is also huge vacancy with 42% vacancy currently. So collegium system definitely needs reform. There are two ways we could bring about this reform. One way to bring about this reform is to work upon the current existing collegium system by imposing time limits, because currently there's no time limit. So that could be one. The other one is also bringing in a revised version of the NGSE, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Since you opted for the foreign service as your first preference, can you explain India's position with regard to the US on one side and China on the other side? And we also seem to be close to Russia. We seem to be happy with all the powers in the world. Nobody will come to our help in times of difficulty later. So, how is this going to play out in the future?
So I think that the fact that we have good relations with all these states, it points to the fact that we enjoy strategic autonomy. and you're not bound by a very limited understanding of power blocks, sir. So I see that as a positive instead of a negative. And so I think that because we have such diverse relations, it will ultimately help us not only in political and strategic sense, but also in the economic sense, especially if you look at aspects such as China plus one strategy that we are following with other countries as well.
So, can you tell me how this was helpful to us, or it was not helpful to us when we had that skirmish with China on the border in Doklam?
Yes, sir. So I think that in the Doklam issue was something that was that we could resolve ultimately towards the end, sir. So I think so even though I'm not aware of the exact specifics of how it was resolved, I think the very fact that it was resolved points to our successful foreign policy, sir.
Yeah, but may not be successful foreign policy. It could have just been a defense counter, and therefore China backed out.
Sir, I would say that is not necessarily the true, sir. Because if you look at our strategic alliances with the US and also with Russia, it would definitely serve as a deterrent to China in terms of Chinese incursions. Because China would know that there is certain amount of scrutiny that is also being levied upon it by these other countries that China considers as its main challengers.
Are you aware at that time our defense minister had gone to Russia around that time? Are you aware?
Uh, yes, sir, but I'm not aware of the specifics, sir.
You are not aware of the dates? Are you able to link the dates with the visit of the defense minister to Russia?
I'm sorry, sir.
Um, I think we've come to the end of the interview. Please wait, we'll call you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Please come.
May I come in, sir?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, Ms. Jayasree, we have just a couple of points. I think you did very well. Your fluency is fantastic, and you will make a very good foreign service officer. Okay, and I hope that you succeed in the exam. But three things on which I would like you to be a little careful. I think you have a tendency to, I won't say bluff, but you tried to project matters in a confident way, thinking that it may not be noticed. SR Bomai emergency, I think that was not right. SR Bomai was basically about imposition of president's rule.
Yes, sir.
Secularism was not a very important thing in that judgment. Please have a look at it. You can check with the internet. If you brought your phone here, you can check it right away, because I don't want this point to be there in your mind. I haven't checked, but tell me.
So actually, in that case, secularism was recognized, but I will check, sir.
I don't think it was, because by that time it was more or less an accepted fact that secularism was part of the constitution. 1994, that was the time the judgment came out. So just check it. I would like to talk to you on this again if you have a doubt. So you can wait and check and come back again, because I don't think it's there. See, that would amount to bluffing if you said something which was not there.
Yes, sir.
Sandesh Kali, you have to be thorough, because it's a very recent occurrence. It concerns women, the sequence which happened, how it happened, what happened, and why it happened, and how it happened. All these things. Regarding, I think the Doklam issue also, I think you need to be clear, because you opted for the foreign service, and how this triangle plays out. On one side we are with BRICS, on the side we are Quad. We maintain a very good relationship with Russia. Now, how this whole thing helps us? Can you put it in a more constructive way in one sentence?
So multilateralism.
Multilateralism, multi-alignment is the word, but how it helps us? We get the benefit of science and technology, trade, diaspora support, democratic interchange, etc. with USA. With Russia, we have the support of trade, oil, particularly the defense supplies, etc. With China, what do you get?
So with China, our import bill is quite high when it comes to, so trade relations could be something we could
That's
work
not
upon.
that's not a plus point. It's actually a negative point. Yeah, they'll send goods too. In fact, they'll give you more goods if you want. So I mean, it's not that. How are your relations with China helping India?
So the incursions that we see in Arunachal Pradesh and Aksai Chin, so if we have good relations with China, then such territorial aspects could be mitigated.
I don't think so. They are going to come nevertheless, whether you like it or not. Just by stretching out your hand, you think the Chinese will keep quiet?
Yes.
They are not. They are not doing it because of that. They are doing it because of deterrence. They feel that India is too big a person to trifle with. I don't think it's because you have good relations with them. So I think you need to be clear about our relations with China, because that could be a question. We did block the Chinese apps.
Yes, sir.
We made sure that the data doesn't go to China. We took action against Chinese suppliers of power equipment. All those things are there. So in the last, after Doklam, there were some actions taken by the Union government against China. So be a little thorough with that, because these are three very important nations in the world: Russia, USA, China, and EU. Okay, please be a little careful. Second point, as Fali Nariman, you need to be clear because it's very recent. When is your interview?
14th March, sir.
You got time, but still Fali Nariman will be evergreen because he's a jurist and you are a law graduate. So Fali Nariman, what are the cases relating to the constitution that he appeared in? I think he appeared in the Keshwanand Bharati case, and he was ASG, if I remember right. He was Additional Solicitor General. He resigned his post, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, sir.
Just check up, huh?
Yes.
And then you should be clear about Minerva Mills case. You should be clear about all those important cases which came up at that time. HR Khanna was there, and the supersession of judges which took place. And Fali Nariman was a jurist, of course, par excellence. More than anything, there was some tributes paid by the Chief Justice to Fali Nariman recently. You can read that also. That gives an idea about how Fali Nariman contributed to the legal fraternity. DPSP is not allowed. It should be Directive Principles of State Policy. Please don't use abbreviations.
Yes, sir.
You said somewhere, I got your question. That's American slang. Okay, sir, I've understood the question. That's the right way. So it's not a conversation.
Yes, sir.
So again, I think we talked about President's Rule versus emergency. Then regarding the Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita and all, because you're a legal graduate, they are no longer bills. They've been assented to by the president. So when a bill is assented to, it becomes an act. Okay, so it's going to come into effect from July 1st. So those things, you be careful in the use of language. You tend to be a little fast at times. I mean, these are, as I said, something which will take you from, say, 185 to 200. Your 185 is assured in the interview. Okay?
Yes, sir. Thank
So
you, sir.
don't think I'm telling you something which will bring you down. This is just to make sure that you get more marks.
Yes, sir.
So this is your first mock?
No, sir, this is not my first mock.
Okay.
So this is my fourth mock.
And first attempt?
Second attempt, sir, first interview.
As a first interview. No, you are a very good candidate. Whatever has been told to you, just take care.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Ek to, you have to take care of the long answers. That is one thing. And second, some hand movements. You should do some hand movement.
Yes, sir.
Natural. But ऐसे बैठी रहोगी, then instead better
Don't
make
you
it
look
live.
a little stiff?
Make
Yes,
it live.
sir.
Be rude.
Okay, sir.
Comfortably better.
You got a very good appearance. You got very pleasant way of talking. But just make it natural.
Yes, sir.
And when you are talking to somebody, look at others also. For just a glance.
So I was, yes, sir.
You were concentrating on one only. Sorry, please.
As far as personality, dressing, good. That will bring more marks. So it's enough. Good. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
You want to ask us anything?
Sir, may I come back, sir? I will.
Jaya, you should come back.
Yes, sir.
Don't worry about what you said. Avoid the mistake, but you should come back.
Yes, sir.
I would also like to know.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.